Sometimes strength does not arrive when we ask for it. It arrives when we're ready to carry it. That one line, that single concept, is really the anchor for our deep dive today.
Yeah.
We're looking at some sources you shared with us, excerpts from The Divine Architecture of Readiness, specifically a story titled When Power Waited for Readiness.
And what's so fascinating, what really jumps out is this moment of cosmic restraint.
Yes, exactly. You have a universe that's facing absolute chaos. I mean, destruction is everywhere, and yet the power that can fix it all just doesn't rush in.
It pauses.
It holds its position.
And that pause is everything. It's what we need to examine today. Our mission really is to dissect that moment because we assume power is a reflex,
Yeah.
Chaos happens, power responds instantly.
Right, quick fix.
But this suggests the opposite. So what does that delay tell us about the difference between, say, seeking rescue and actually accepting responsibility?
That's a big distinction.
It is. We're exploring this idea that the delay wasn't an absence of power, but an alignment, a necessary phase to get all the conditions just right.
Okay, let's unpack that pause. Because it really does challenge that human expectation, The louder you yell for help, the faster it should come.
Of course.
But the text is clear. The Devi's power doesn't erupt just because there's chaos. The chaos it's more like a notification. It's not the actual trigger.
Not the final condition for intervention, no.
It waits, and I'm quoting here, not out of hesitation, but out of discernment. That word, discernment, that carries so much weight.
It implies a conscious evaluation, doesn't it? A thoughtful look at the entire situation, not just the problem, but also the people asking for help.
Before any action is taken.
Precisely. And if you're in a crisis, whether it's personal or global, your urgency is all you can feel. You think the problem is so intense, the response should be immediate.
You expect rescue, an external force to just come in and fix it.
But if we follow this logic of discernment, it suggests the problem itself. It's almost secondary.
Which must be incredibly frustrating for anyone who's actually suffering in the chaos. If the world is ending, why on earth would you wait?
That's the critical question, isn't it? I think the text suggests that when power is this absolute, it can't afford to be purely reactive. It has to be constructive.
What do you mean by constructive?
Well, imagine a skyscraper is collapsing. You can't just pour more concrete on the top floor and hope for the best. You have to fix the foundation. The sheer strength of the solution might actually destroy the building or the people inside if they aren't prepared for it.
Ah, okay. So the visible chaos, the external problem, that was actually less important than the internal state of the beings who were calling for help.
That's the shift in perspective right there. It moves the focus away from all the external drama and onto the quiet, internal work of building capacity.
If the power descends before that capacity is there.
The solution could fail. Or, maybe worse, they might misuse the new strength they've been given. They have to be sturdy enough to handle it.
So if this internal state is the focus, what does the strength that finally arrives look like? It can't just be a thunderbolt that wipes out the bad guys.
No, it's not a rescue mission. The text suggests we should stop thinking of strength as an outside force swooping in and start seeing it as responsibility.
Responsibility.
Yes, the transaction changes. The recipients are no longer just victims waiting. They become agents of the solution.
They're part of the work.
They are the work. The beings who called for help weren't denied, but that waiting period, that was to ensure they were prepared.
And preparation here means accepting the accountability that comes with that kind of power.
Exactly. Power is a serious tool. You need skill, you need knowledge, and you need accountability to wield it without just causing more harm.
I see the contrast. A simple rescue would just perpetuate a cycle of dependency, chaos. Call, rescue, wait for the next chaos.
Whereas strength as responsibility means they have to internalize that power and become co-creators of the new balanced order. They're expected to maintain it.
This connects directly to intention then. The text says power descends only when intention matured into readiness. That phrase, matured into readiness, suggests a process.
It does. It's not a switch you flip. Think about the difference between a casual wish, like, I wish this problem would just go away, which is often driven by a desire for comfort.
Ego.
Ego, absolutely. And then there's true readiness, which is a willingness to fundamentally shift your own state to accommodate a new reality.
Can you give a more practical example?
Sure. Think of an entrepreneur who just wishes for investment money versus one who uses the delay, the time spent waiting for funding, to completely restructure their business, hire the right people, and get ready for the accountability that comes with scaling up.
So when the funding arrives, It's not luck.
It's capacity meeting opportunity. The delay filtered out the casual wish and allowed the serious intention to mature.
That makes sense. But I do have a question here. The text says this power is meant to restore, not to dominate. But doesn't restoring balance sometimes require, well, dominating the forces, causing the chaos?
That's a great point. It's a critical distinction. The power itself, when wielded by a ready entity, is aimed at restoring balance, systemic harmony.
But if it's wielded by someone who isn't ready,
Even with good intentions, an unprepared, ego-driven entity will naturally use that power to dominate, to impose its will, and that just creates a new, unstable hierarchy.
so restoration is about putting the system back into harmony, while domination is just about winning.
And the weight, the discernment, ensures the power lands with consciousness that's prepared to use it for harmony, not for personal victory.
Okay, so this completely reframes how we should see waiting. For most of us, waiting is just suffering. It's a negative state.
But the Source gives us this powerful idea. Delay is not denial. It is preparation. If you can truly internalize that, waiting stops being passive. It becomes an active, constructive state.
It's the time you use to solidify your intention, to understand the responsibility you're about to take on, and to align yourself with the strength you're asking for.
And that leads to another incredible line from the text. The silence before intervention was not absence, it was alignment. The power wasn't gone, it was just waiting for the frequencies to match.
I like that analogy. The frequency, like the chaos, is just this jarring, dissonant noise.
Right.
And the solution, the restoration, is a clear, coherent frequency. So the beings calling for help had to raise their own internal state to match that constructive frequency.
Yes, before the power could safely land and integrate. Alignment here means coherence. Coherence between the caller's intent and the inherent nature of the solution they need. If they're still panicked or unclear, that immense power, it just couldn't land effectively.
It would be like trying to play a finely tuned instrument in a room full of static.
Perfect analogy. The instrument is there, but you can't use it until you clear the internal noise. The universe in this story refuses to pour its energy into a sieve.
But wait, isn't there a risk? If the power waits for this perfect readiness, couldn't that just...
Right. Readiness means you have the internal architecture to sustain the solution. You don't have to be flawless. There's a minimum threshold required to responsibly hold that energy, and the story suggests they finally reached it.
That distinction is incredibly helpful. So the core insight for you, the listener, is really this. Readiness matters more than urgency.
The universe waited for the internal state to match the external need. It's a profound lesson in patience and self-work.
So to structure this for you, let's just synthesize the 4 key lessons to be learned from this narrative. They offer a really clear framework.
The first, and this grounds everything we've talked about, is that power arrives when responsibility is understood.
Meaning you have to fully own the accountability before you're given the strength. It's conditional.
The second lesson, delay is not denial, it is preparation.
Which reframes that entire waiting period. It's not passive suffering, it's the time you're using to build your foundation.
Then the third takeaway, true strength restores balance, not ego.
So the intention behind any major action has to be harmony, not just imposing your will or your preferred order on things.
And finally, the fourth lesson, readiness matters more than urgency.
The speed of the resolution is dictated by the recipient's capacity, not just how bad the crisis is. You determine the speed by the strength of your own foundation.
And if we tie all that back to the start, that image of the universe pausing, we see it's not a random delay. It's a sophisticated architecture for delivering power. It's constructive, not reactive.
Any power that just rushes in without that discernment is probably a short-term fix that's doomed to fail because the underlying readiness wasn't there.
Profound strength will always prioritize long-term stability over short-term relief.
This deep dive really does change how you think about silence and delay. It shifts the question from why hasn't help arrived to the much deeper question.
Am I truly ready to carry the change I'm asking for?
And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought from the source material. It tells us there was another moment where silence speaks louder than action, a time when power chose not to assert itself, and that story waits ahead. Thank you for sharing these sources and allowing us this deep dive into the quiet, reflective power of readiness.